Alright, so today we are going to be talking about debating or all that type of stuff regarding your hottest takes in Genshin. I went throughout all of Teyvat, going through co-op, finding all of the hottest takes that I possibly could. It took me a good minute trying to find some really good ones because a lot of y'all either didn't have an opinion or didn't know what a hot take was. But besides all that, we are going to be talking about the hottest takes in this video. But before we do all that, make sure to leave a sub and a like on the video if you're enjoying the Genshin content. We have some announcements coming up very soon, so we will be talking about that soon. So let's go ahead and get started with the video. Now, before I get started with this, I guess I can say that a lot of y'all either had some actual hot takes or personal attacks on characters, and out of all the times that I went ahead and tried to find these hot takes, some of y'all mistook me for the hottest character, and that ended up being with 2 votes for Raiden and 1 vote for Yelan. So I guess respectable choices there, but let's go ahead and start with the first take. One of them being, weapons feel more impactful than characters. Now, when I saw this take, I was like, woo! This is kind of a hot one, actually. Now, thinking about it honestly, as weapons feel more impactful than characters, right? Characters do, in a way, I guess they could say, once you start getting more teams, and once you get your 2 sets of teams, right? One for the first half of the Abyss and one for the second half of the Abyss, it does kind of feel like you're getting diminishing returns sometimes. I'm not saying all the times, because depending on what characters you get, right, in the future, whichever ones come out, whichever ones are recently added, some of them either go into existing archetypes that you don't want to play, or some that you don't want to build into. And then some aren't as good as the predecessors that, from before. Like, some people are happy with Xingqiu instead of Yelan, and some people are happy with, maybe a Shangling as a power application instead of building their Toma for a different reason. There's a lot of different things, a lot of different characters that fit different archetypes, and at a certain point, I do understand in some players' cases that it might be a case of, having a better weapon, having a better refined weapon is going to put more impact onto your account than a new character. Because if you don't want to rock a Dendro core team with Nilou, people like Nilou, people like Baiju, people like Akomi, some of those characters aren't going to be very useful to you. If you're like building like other type of teams, like Vape teams with like Xingqiu, Yelan, Hu Tao, and all that type of stuff, or Raiden Hyper Carry, you're not going to want to feed into the Dendro thing, I guess you could say. So in a way, this take makes sense for a certain amount of players. I do think the opposite is correct, in all honesty, where characters are definitely more impactful than weapons. But there are a lot of things that come with weapons being a very strong way to get some stats that you need, like crit rate, crit damage, energy recharge. Those are very important, but I do think having more characters in your roster is a lot better than having a bunch of weapons, in all honesty. This can go either way. I would like to see y'all's opinions in the comments, but let's go ahead and move on to the next hot take, and that is, I did not like the Sumo Archon quest nor Nahida. Now, this is actually blazing fire, lava, molten take. I absolutely loved the Sumo Archon quest, and I love Nahida as well. She is absolutely an amazing character, in my honest opinion. I do think the Sumo Archon quest was quite literally the best paced story past the first 2, like Mondstadt into Leeway, and then Inazuma has his own problems, in all honesty. And then there's also a thing where the Archon quest for Sumo, they kind of experimented a little bit more, right? They had the Traveler talking a lot more. They had these really detailed photographic type scenes when Dunrizat was talking about her past. They had some of the best, I guess you could say, cutscenes or CG when Nilou was doing her dance of Sub-Zerus. There was so much in the Archon quest that I really like, and it really did push the story even further, going into, Wanderer's backstory, talking about the God of Time and all that type of stuff. There's a lot of cool things that we got, even got to see Irminsul as well. So I do think the Archon quest was very important. I do think it was really well paced and really beautifully written. So I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to disagree with this one, but this was a really hot take, in all honesty. The next one is, now this one is probably going to be molten lava type take, because a lot of y'all are going to be triggered when I say this. Daya is good. Now, I know a lot of people are already like, holy what? Daya is good, but in all honesty, it depends how you play it, right? Now, in terms of being a healer slash tanker, I do think she falls back. And her being sub DPS, I do think she falls back. But her being a pyro applicator for Dendro teams, either being infinite burn with Nahida or having a Burgeon team with, you know, all of the Dendro core, you know, making teams, I think in that spot, she's actually pretty good. She actually has some versatility because she helps you not take so much damage from the Burgeon core. She's able to, you know, diminish all of those chances of you taking a lot of damage. Same with burning, you can take a lot less damage when you're using the Burgeon team, so it helps out a lot. Her skill is a good way to offset the energy you need for a burst, so she kind of puts Toma in the back burner if you think of it like that. Although Toma, if you do get his energy up 100% of the time, get his burst up 100% of the time, then, you know, Daya loses value. But if you don't have a really well built Toma, then I guess you could say Daya is a little bit easier to make work than Toma, but it also requires a lot more investment, a lot more money, in all honesty, because she is a 5-star that's going into the standard pool. I can see why people would think Daya is good in certain sections, but she does fall back, and this is something that no one can deny. She does fall back in certain categories, such as, you know, main DPS, being an actual tanker to, you know, take off the healer and shielder of that team. So I do want to kind of play the middleman in this one because she works in some areas, but she doesn't work well in others, in all honesty. Another good, and I think this was an amazing hot take, and at first it got me a little worried because this was moving into the controversial side. Then it moved into the, ooh, this is actually really cool and interesting. More diversity. And they weren't talking about body shape, like how Ito is supposed to be super muscular, or how they want like bigger, you know, wider characters, you know, basically all the different types of body types in the game. They're not talking about that. They're talking about different color elements. And when they talk about that, they're talking about, you know, yellow electro units, blue pyro units, like having blue fire, yellow electricity for electro, having all of these different colors, because actually that makes a lot of sense. Why don't we have stuff like that? Because we do have the yellow slimes that are for electro walking around Teyvat, and we do have, you know, other depictions of other series or other titles having blue flames, you know, signifying it being like the hottest flame. This is actually something really cool. They could probably play around with this and actually make some really cool character designs based on, you know, changing the colors of these elements. I actually think this is a really cool take. Because this could change up the way characters are designed, which, you know, having blue fire can make more blue elements into characters, because usually a lot of the characters with their elements match their color scheme. Like pyro characters usually have oranges, reddish, black type of clothes. Cryo usually has light blue, black, white colored clothes, and Geo is like all orangish, blackish, tannish clothes. So changing the look of the elements can end up helping these other element characters be set apart from the normal standard, and I think this could really help with the different types of designs that we get in Genshin, and make, you know, a lot of the ults or more bursts look really cool. So this is actually really cool. I think this also ties into the fact that gameplay wise, if you see blue, you kind of want to associate with Hydro. If you see yellow or orange, you kind of want to associate it with Geo. So I kind of understand why they don't do this, but in the future, this could be something really cool. I don't know, maybe you can make a setting where everything just stays the same color, or you can have another setting where if it's turned off, you know, they can play around with the colors, to be honest. So that would be really cool. So I think these are some really nice, you know, takes that we've been looking at. But let's go ahead and look at one last one for sure. And this one I kind of want to talk about. This may be controversial in all honesty, but the wishing system could be better. I think, in all honesty, because I come up from a game that doesn't have pity, or a game that doesn't have any type of, I guess you could say, system where you can guarantee the character after a certain amount of pulls. I played a lot of them like that. Genshin, in all honesty, is one of the cheaper games that I've played for in a gacha game. Now, there's one I have right now that I'm like full free to play in. I have almost every character. They're very generous with their gems and stuff. But as Genshin is, as it is, right? It's an open world game, a lot of content. Although a lot of people like to say there's a big drought of content, there's still a massive world. It's a beautiful world, beautiful OST, beautiful missions, beautiful side quests, everything, right? They regularly update this game. And the amount of application that you can use with your characters in Genshin, like all these different teams that you can make, all these different builds that you can make, there's a lot of accounts into this game that, you know, having to summon for the character, having to summon for the weapon, and not being a company shill, I'm not sponsored, but having a pity at 90, right, with you having to summon only for the weapon and the character, I do think they're fine as is. I don't think they could do anything really to change up the wishing system to make it better, except making it to where you're guaranteed the new 4-star after a certain amount. I think once you hit the same amount of pity for a 5-star, or maybe even half of it, you're guaranteed 1 4-star, and then you're on your own for that, right? I think once you hit 50 pulls or 5 multis, you should be guaranteed the new 5-star or 4-star at least. And then after that, you're done. Like, you have to deal with the RNG, you have to deal with the chances. And then, you know, if you get constellations or you get the 4-star before it, then that's good. If not, you know, too bad. I do think that's a okay compromise in guaranteeing the new 4-star, and also not making it to where it's almost impossible or impossibility to get that new 4-star. Because a lot of people sometimes want to play with the new 4-star and they can't do it because they don't want to end up wasting their 50-50. They don't want to end up wasting their guaranteed. And it makes a lot of sense. So other than that, these were some really freaking cool takes, hot takes. I do want to see some more crazier ones, more controversial ones. Maybe leave them in the comments below, and we can see if we can make another part to this series, because this is actually really cool to talk about. This is a really cool discussion type video, and I want to keep making more of these. So other than that, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end. See y'all in the next one, and peace.